Do you want to know how you can make an extra 20 grand a year by just working 5 hours a week? I'm not talking about a full part-time job. I'm talking about 5 hours a week. This isn't made up, and this is definitely not drop shipping. These are actual client stories that I'm going to share with you. And the most exciting part is you can start them tomorrow with practically no startup capital required. I'm Iannuzzelli, and this is what school should have taught you.
Everything school should have taught you in one place. With a property portfolio of over 17 million and an accountancy firm of over 16,000 clients, as well as being an accountant to some of the wealthiest people in Australia, Jeremy Iannuzzelli will be sharing his lessons on everything school should have taught you so you can build the life you want.
Now, I wanted to do a bit of a follow-up podcast off the back of my 5 small side hustles that you could easily make 100 grand per year. I was rapt to see so many people reach out to me by email and the comments in the video section. It was brilliant to see a lot of people that started, a lot of people doing it for a number of years and the results that they were getting. But I want to talk about 2 really good client stories, 2 feel-good stories that I look back and say, wow, that little podcast there transformed their lives to a point where now they're doing not just a lawn mowing business, but another one doing a cleaning business and making an extra 20 grand per year by working only additional 5 hours a week. And I want to share about these 2 stories of Stacey and Rob. Now, Stacey and Rob, both partners, they've been together for a number of years, married with 1 beautiful child, and the cost of living crisis was starting to really bite into their bottom line. They've got their own home and they've got 1 investment property and a child in daycare. They could have just simply put their hands up and said, it's all too hard, we give up. But they gave themselves a little bit of a mission to earn extra money. Now, they listened to the podcast and they didn't even know that cleaning and lawn mowing, they didn't even know all these things were happening around them. They didn't know there was a market or industry that people would pay for cleaning or people would pay for lawn mowing. So each of them got onto their local job apps, your Airtaskers, your Facebook marketplaces, and they started to advertise their service. Rob started to advertise that he can cut lawns and Stacey started to advertise that she can clean houses. They didn't want to make this a full-time gig because they both work full-time jobs and they've got a little kid that they look after. They wanted to allocate themselves an extra 5 to 6 hours a week to earn that additional money, but they can do it at their time and their flexibility. So Rob started mowing lawns in his local area and Stacey started to clean houses. And on average, by working their 5 hours per week, they were able to bring in about roughly $80 an hour, of which translated to $400 a week. Some weeks a little bit more, some weeks a little bit less. So much so now that they've got so much inquiry and getting inundated with lots of leads from family and friends about mowing lawns and cleaning houses. But for them, it was just to make that little bit of extra money to tie them over while interest rates were much higher and their child was in daycare. Now, they heard about these little growing industries from listening to that podcast many months ago about cleaners and lawn mowers making about $100,000 per year or plus by going into this particular industry. What I've seen is that a lot of the dirty jobs, a lot of the low education, low IQ seem jobs that the stigmatisms are out there, no one wants to do them. No one wants to be a cleaner. No one wants to mow lawns because it doesn't come with prestige. But I can tell you now, a lot of my clients, the clients with the less prestigious jobs, are the ones that are making the most amount of money. I've even been fortunate enough that they've got a young client, a son of a very good client of mine I've had for a number of years. He's just started his own small business, picking up dog poo. So he's got his whole street now where he charges about $8 per house and he's going around and picking up their dog poo once every 2 days. This kid's bringing in $300-400 a week by picking up the whole street's dog poo every 2 or 3 days. So they're the little things that are out there, these little jobs that are out there that nobody wants to do because there's no prestige. But if you're willing to spend the time, you're willing to get your name out there, especially in those jobs that are seen as not high paying. But I can tell you now, there's a shortage of cleaners. There's a shortage of people mowing lawns. If you want to work, there's value and there's money to be made. And Stacey and Rob are just one example where they heard a podcast that I did talking about side hustles. So they're making an extra 40 grand per year, not only just to cover the costs of inflation, but now making a little bit more to give them some freedom to spend the money where they want to or invest. And both now are looking at taking this little bit of a side hustle into something much larger. Now, a lot of people might be listening and saying, well, I don't necessarily need the extra money because of the cost of living crisis. But what I will say is that if you are an avid investor that wants to put their money into property or whether it's shares or borrow more money, if you can go out there and make an extra $20,000 or $40,000 a year, That could be the difference depending on the lender and your own personal situation of potentially an extra $150,000 to $300,000 worth of borrowing capacity. So it's important. There's plenty of work out there. If you want it, take it. Start to think outside the box. Put your name out there if you're wanting to start lawn mowing or cleaning, on your Facebook marketplaces, on your Airtasker. There's ample amount of opportunity and there's an ample amount of work out there for you to earn that extra coin. So I hear Stacey and Rob's story and I just get so passionate about it because it's those little things that were able to get me to where I am today. I look back and see a $20 million portfolio of assets that I've created over the last 20 years, which is brilliant. But I got to think back to the time how it all started. And it started by working as an accountant, also waiting tables on a Friday and Saturday night while soccer refereeing on the weekend during the day. So the moral of the story is if you want it, there's opportunities to grab it. Sometimes you just may have to swallow your pride if it's an industry or job that you weren't looking for. There's ample opportunity, ample amount of money. You just need to grab the bull by the horns and run with it. It's a short story I wanted to share with you. I'm Jeremy Iannuzzelli. This is what school should have taught you. Don't forget to hustle hard.